going on, guys? We're gonna give this another shot. This is rep 2 or rep, what is it, rep 1, rep 2? We've done this a couple times already.
I think, yeah, 2.
We actually, what's funny is we actually started this call on Saturday, and now it's Sunday early morning. So we've been messing around so long to get started that it's like we've actually carried over into another day. Like in true like slacker fashion, like this is something we probably should have started like at 6 or 7 p.m. and it's like we're starting it after midnight. But the funny part is though, it's like I think this is kind of like when we've had some of our best conversations before, like at this hour of the night, or just like at random times. And so we both happen to be home, and I feel like I've got like a lot of built up like storytelling energy because I went out today and I went to the botanical gardens, and I actually had made a video over it that I uploaded. But you ever like been somewhere and you feel like now all of a sudden like you're all like amped up and you're ready to like tell stories now?
About botanical gardens, I haven't before, but
well, just in general, or like are you not the type to like want to retell whenever you go do stuff?
yeah, I'm not a run and tell type of guy. I was always a little more discreet.
Well, that's the thing is like I know whenever I was out there today, like man, it's like it's kind of crazy because like I went back and I watched the footage of when I recorded myself, and it's like surreal, like going back and watching stuff, especially because like there's stuff that you experience but you don't like you're not really like aware of, like things happening like in your field of vision but maybe you're not focused on, or like sounds in the background and stuff. And I always think it's interesting to go back and like if I walk by somebody and like you can overhear part of their conversation, like this little side conversation. That kind of stuff's always interesting to me whenever I happen to be like filming somewhere, or like just little things like little reactions and like things that
I'd like to see some of these reactions from these people who notice you eavesdropping on their conversations.
Oh no! I mean, it's.
I'm sorry. This is for my podcast. Don't mind me.
Yeah, I don't know how up and up how on the up and up it is, because I don't exactly carry around waivers with me, and I try to do my best to like not film people's faces, or like I let them know ahead of time. I try not to like. Really, overall, I try to be like as antisocial as possible. To be quite honest, like I if I see people around, I kind of like usually a pause or kind of like film the other way. And honestly, that like man, that selfie stick is like, that thing is like, that's one of the first things I want to get rid of.
No.
It's like as a person who really doesn't even like use that much technology to begin with, to me the selfie stick was always like a kind of like a little bit of like a symbol of like self-indulgence and narcissism. And like now I'm having to eat crow because now I use it sometimes whenever I'm like out filming stuff, and like it's like a lot of shame I feel, because it's like
I just remember all the little kids, like all like the junior high girls and stuff like that with the selfie stick, like out and stuff.
Yeah,
that's what I remember of it. I have no doubt. Obviously, these successful YouTube channels, when they're walking around talking to people, I mean, you done it at these fairs and stuff. You get this, yeah. I mean, obviously, you get the shot somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and part of it too is I've actually one of the fairs or one of the things videos I made, like I've had made them before with just freehand, but it helps also to get like a wider angle because it sort of like extends your. It's sort of like if you extend your wrist out like a couple inches. So that kind of helps also because it's like otherwise you get like footage is like, and I still do it sometimes too. I still get like that footage where it's like really close, where it's almost like just like your eyes in frame.
Yeah.
There's like
Dude, we should have prepared some amazing aerial shots. That way I could have mentioned the that Spider-Man spoof. Have you seen it? It's like a skit, and it's supposed to be Spider-Man, and the guys in his office like immediately are like, "What the hell? You got this shot? How'd you get this shot? Where are you? Where are you like in a hot air balloon? Hey, come here!" And he tells the other, "Look, this guy says he got this shot of Spider-Man." Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah. Where were you? Like on top of his back? Were you riding on his back? Yeah. That that yeah, that's the kind of
I
shot you need. But apparently you can do it. Apparently you're telling me you can do that with a selfie stick.
well, honestly, I think you could even do it even with just a freaking camera timer. But I haven't even gotten that far, like to even do that. I guess it's more for like a still shot, but like I have like a tripod and stuff, but I'm not that performative. Like that seems like a whole nother level, and like it feels more like you're acting when you're using a tripod. And I think in some sort of there's some sort of natural feel to what I'm doing because I just kind of like pull out the phone and just kind of like, oh, it's kind of like you're talking to your friends, and it is in a sense because for the most part it's just my friends watching, like family members. But then every now and then you get like outside of your group, you get that kind of traffic also, and that's kind of weird too because it's like real. I don't know how engaged that traffic is because I think it's just people just kind of passing through, like almost like drifters almost. But it's as far as like the subscribers, I'm at like I think no, I'm over here acting like yeah I'm no, I know I'm exactly at 29 because I get a freaking notification whenever I get a new subscriber, and those yeah. Well, actually, I don't think they give you a notification every time, but the number crawls up so slowly that like that you kind of notice it, but you notice that like the people who subscribe, like they're in for a rough ride at the beginning because it's like the stuff's not great at the beginning. So those are like your hardcore people. Those are like I almost see them. They're almost like the girlfriends of like the band, like the ones that are like at the show, like that they're dancing, even though like the music like kind of sucks. And that's sort of what I feel like my early subscriber base is like. But I think over time, just doing it more, and then like if I know like I had Dan on the weekend, and just being able to like connect with like my friends and stuff, I think is kind of cool. So if anything, it's kind of just an outlet for that, and I think it's kind of cool that we can kind of have this format here. It's almost like a way that we can have like a video chat, and we just kind of like, I don't want to say kill two birds with one stone, but we just sort of like we're just letting YouTube sort of just like eavesdrop, even though it's like probably like a channel a lot of people will just like flip onto and watch for a few seconds and flip out, but it's here. It exists out here in the universe, and I think little by little I was gonna say little by little. What's that?
I don't think people flip out. They just flip on. They don't flip out.
No, not flip out like go crazy. I meant like flip through, I guess. Or they people are real fickle, I think, on these channels. Like and I know I do the same thing too. Whenever I watch a lot of YouTube, like some stuff I'll like sit there and I'll be mesmerized and I'll like watch all the way through. But then some stuff I just like kind of casually like just click through it real quickly and I watch it for a couple seconds. So I don't know if there's a science to it or if it's just like something hits like your interest, or maybe you're just like happen to be um like interested in that particular thing, you know, like
Right.
if you
At
find
this
something
point,
interesting.
yeah, at this point, they want to know what it is you're going to talk about tonight. It's going to be UFOs. It's going to be. It's going to be. Is it going to be ghost?
Well, you
They
know,
want to know.
you would think that like I said, what not only are we running behind on getting this show started, but there's like really no like show agenda and like that. Like I think a couple of times I sent you and Dan like invites that had like structured like okay like this is what we're gonna do like
Show agendas.
yeah, but then after a while it's like with anything else, you know, it's like you get kind of tired. It's like I don't know if you ever had I've never been like a daily planner kind of person, like person that has myself organized like that. And I can't imagine like I've seen people who have like a planner and they have it like all filled out and stuff. I feel like I'd be the type of person that would like do that for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and I just like would just like it would just be like everything else, you know. I would like need a separate daily planner to keep reminding me to like freaking fill out the first one, you know. Maybe that's just me though.
I I just keep hitting snooze over and over.
Oh, dude, I love hitting the snooze, man. I actually like allowed myself two presses of the snooze button, so I've actually got the time adjusted. Even though I've heard people say, or I've been told before that like the best way to do it is just not to use any snooze at all, and just
Yeah,
train yourself to
I
like as
agree.
soon as it goes off, like to just make that be your last one. But the snooze is such a bad habit because sometimes I don't even like need the snooze, but I feel like I'm owed the snooze because I've already like accounted for it, you know. It's like I'll wake up and I'm not really that sleepy, but because I've already accounted for that extra time, I'll go ahead and like hit the snooze button. What about you? You hit the snooze button, or you're one person. You're the get up as soon as the alarm goes off.
I only set the alarm ever so often because the my dogs wake me up so freaking early. They wake
Oh,
me up
yeah.
like at like yeah, they wake me up around like 5.
You have to go to
Like
the bathroom
hey,
or what?
yeah, they're like hey we gotta go to the bathroom, man.
Oh,
We gotta go.
at least
And,
at least though you have a backyard, right?
yeah,
Like at least it's you can kind of like I don't want to say cheat, but you can do it like. Are you able to do it like the lazy way where you just like let them out into your backyard? I
yeah,
want to say
but
lazy way, but like you know you don't actually walk them.
you could. I don't. But then again, I have like a covered patio area like in my back door too. So it's not that big a deal. Even if it's raining, I can still stand out there and like just like shove the dogs along. Go on.
So
Go use the bathroom.
so you're not one of those people that like just lets a bunch of dog feces like pile up on their patio,
Oh yeah, no.
and you just go
That's
out
not
there
gonna
like
happen.
once every couple of weeks. You just go out there with like a water hose, like some people do.
Ew, that's disgusting. Really? People do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people do like that. Yeah, like I've seen people that like or like um I know people who
uh,
like had dogs like in their backyard and like they don't pick up their scat for whatever reason. They just let them go out there. I guess they just like seed the backyard to dogs kind of thing.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't rain here. Like it doesn't storm so bad that like the dogs really actually couldn't go out there if it's raining. It barely rains. Well, seldomly does it ever rain really hard. Um, so I've never really come along that. And when I lived in Texas, it was like that though. I remember that. I remember that being a big hassle.
Walking dogs.
Like yeah, like when it rains, like when they gotta go. But now it's not that big a deal. It's usually at worst it's cold.
Why is the rain not as big a deal in in Seattle.
It
Or like
just doesn't rain
I guess I'm trying to
hard.
figure out.
It just doesn't rain hard here. So it's like in Texas when you would send your dog, like if your dog needed to go outside and it was raining, there's a good chance that like you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not sending the dog out there. This is
Yeah,
stupid. It's like I might as well just hose the dog down. Like that's not gonna happen. Here it never rains that hard, and seldomly does it ever rain hard at all. It's usually like sprinkling. Like you can go outside, if you can look outside, you can hear the rain, but if you walk out there, like you can stand around for a few seconds before like you actually get rain. Like
that's
it's just yeah.
that's
I
funny
know
to say. Like,
it's probably contrary to what you believe about like what you hear about Seattle, like it rains in Seattle all the time. It does this all the time though. Like a majority of the year it does this.
well, it rains, but it probably doesn't flood as much as Houston. Because that right away,
Yeah,
whenever you mentioned about
yeah,
like
like
I was gonna say whenever you mentioned about letting your dog out, like when you're in Texas, like the first thing I thought about is like, oh, like that's just like swampy. Like your dog's gonna like be like wading through puddles and stuff like that when it's like raining and it's like very deep, like mud, water puddles and stuff. Like and just like I just thought that's why. And when you said like the dog comes back in, yeah, you might as well just like be ready to hose him down or whatever. Like, and so I'm guessing like from what you're telling me though that like up there in Washington State is like rains frequently, but it's not the same kind of flooding, or it is.
yeah, exactly. The inches for the year is significantly less than it was back in Texas.
Mm,
But the amount of days in the year in which it rains is significantly higher than Texas. So like the majority of the year, it rains sometime throughout the day,
I always
even
think
for just like here and there.
what I always think is hilarious about Seattle is like when I heard about that thing called the Seattle freeze. You heard of that?
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. I've
Like
heard
there's
about it.
supposedly a thing where like if you're like not from the Seattle area, that they like ice you out or whatever. And, like they're all like not friendly or like not friendly, but like so they're not really like antagonistic or mean. It's more just like it's very isolated and they don't like open up to like outsiders very much supposedly. It's called the Seattle freeze.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Seattle's a really expensive city to live in. So a lot of people who live here, they're students. There's a lot of students and a lot of really young people with high paying jobs. And mixed in, there's like people who've been here generations. And I think the people who have been here for generations kind of keep to themselves, and the people with like all the new money and stuff like that, and the students, I think it's like a clash between like really progressive people and semi kind of centralistic kind of conservative people. Because a lot of those people they don't want, I mean, they see these taxes are going up, and they paid, you know, pennies on the dollar for the property that they had, and now their property's worth millions of dollars. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you see that a lot. Or I've seen that because I've had to relocate a couple times for work, and you see like this with this. I don't know if the word is like this dichotomy. I'm not sure what the word is. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but like um sometimes you see like these very very like liberal cities, or it's like it's in one state is not completely one way or the other. There's like areas that are like very liberal and very conservative in all these states. and it's like you get the whole kind of spectrum. Like you want to sometimes think about like one of the major cities like being the entire state, but that's like kind of like a shallow way of thinking about it. If you like, or if you just kind of like looking at it from like another state, or like kind of like a shallow like overview. But when if you actually live there, you see it. There's a lot of like there's like the whole range of the whole like the way people are and stuff. Like, have you ever noticed that there's usually like a rivalry in these cities? Or there's rivalries in cities and stuff. Like I think like Houston and Dallas had a little bit of that rivalry.
Oh, like
And
the
then
big cities?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And then
I don't know with Seattle. Seattle's too big. Seattle has to make so many enemies all on its own, like within itself. I don't think it has room for a rival. If it has a rival, I don't know what it is. I haven't
what
I
do
haven't
they
gotten
have?
that far.
Maybe not a rival, but do they have like a like is Tacoma like then like the second city or like the junior city kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess so. It's the neighboring. It's the next largest. It's the next largest town or next largest city is Tacoma. I mean, there's Tacoma Dome, and
You know,
there's a big dome there. So I
you
don't
know
know.
what I thought was hilarious was
They have
like
good
whenever
food
I
there,
lived
though. I'll tell you that. That's
where
actually a good place to eat in Tacoma.
um what I was saying was whenever I happened to live in I lived in both Dallas and Fort Worth, and I'm not originally from that area, so I was like a transplant overall. And whenever I moved there, I thought it was so hilarious because they like as an outsider looking in, they're almost like I don't know if you've ever seen Parks and Rec before, where they have like Pawnee and Eagleton. Are you familiar with that at
I,
all?
I I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, well basically they're like sister
I
cities.
know what it is, but I never watched it.
Okay, well like I said, they're basically like sister cities, and like Pawnee is like the smaller, the second city, and like I want to say it's Eagleton is like the bigger city. Um, and like the people they're on the show, they always over exaggerated it. They always play it up comedically by saying that like the people at Eagleton are like snobs, and they're like have like Perrier coming out of like their faucets and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know
And,
exactly what you mean now.
and like it's hilarious because Dallas and Fort Worth like totally have like that kind of relationship because they're like two cities that they're like for lack of a better explanation, but they're like literally like if you look at them on the map, just like two like metroplexes, and they're like side by side, and they're like connected by like these freeways. So it's almost like two cities like forcibly like living together, but they're kind of like it takes like a good like I think like 30 minutes or so to get from Fort Worth to Dallas. So they're not close enough to be considered the same city, but like they're not like they can't get far enough away from each other to like get their own identity. So they're constantly like talking crap about each other, and it's pretty
That's,
hilarious because like the people in Dallas will say that like the like Fort Worth is like very like small, nothing to small town, like nothing to do, kind of like cow town and stuff like that. And I talked to people from Fort Worth, like, oh, Fort Worth is like, I mean, I'm sorry,
I,
yeah, the people from Fort Worth they would say like, oh, the people from
I know
Dallas
some,
is a bunch of snobs and
I know
stuff.
some cowpoke out there.
Yeah, no, that the people
I
from Fort Worth would say that the people from Dallas were like snobs and they're rich and
yeah,
yeah, and it's hilarious because they got that back and forth, and it's like
that is
they got it
funny.
down so well on that Parks and Rec show, and then like to see it in real life, like Dallas and Fort Worth, man, if you're ever in that area, it's like the people there the people will actually like they don't hate each other, but it's like something that like whenever I was first there, like as a stranger, if I would mention to people that I was like not from there and how do you like it there, and that, for some reason that always came up, that like the people from Dallas would have something like to say about Fort Worth being like a small cowpoke city, and like the people from Fort Worth would say that the people from Dallas were like, it's not. They made them sound so over exaggerated. They made them sound like they were like driving around with like their convertibles and have all this jewelry on and stuff. And really, it's the same like anywhere else. There's a whole spectrum, but it's funny to see them kind of like snipe at each other from. And I think Houston and Dallas would have that a little bit more like that if like they were like going so closely like the way Dallas and Fort Worth are. There's a good like a 4-hour drive, isn't there, between the two?
Oh yeah, no, it's quite a drive.
You still get, I mean, you still get some of that rivalry with like the sports teams and stuff like that.
That's the thing. I was just gonna say that, like,
yeah,
like I always thought that Houston and Dallas had a rivalry, but now I'm thinking about it. Houston really should have leveraged Fort Worth and like brought them in like under their wing, like NWO, like here, throw a shirt on them, and you're like, yeah, now you can join our team.
Yeah, just try to troll Dallas.
Yeah, exactly.
By hanging out with Fort Worth a lot.
There you go. Yeah,
what are you doing with Fort Worth?
Fort Worth throwing up Fort Worth throwing up the H hand signs and stuff. The H Town hand sign. Oh, jeez, that's right. We're in your backyard now.
That's funny.
We bought the house next door.
No, that's there's a lot of that going on right now. There's I was thinking that even like whenever we start to go make one of these videos, like there's sometimes like I don't know, it's like I don't always get a good sense of what's gonna hit or what's not gonna hit. So like I start to edit them, and like I've noticed that like, man, I go back and watch some of the early ones, and they were like, oh my god, they're so cringe, dude. And it's like, but that's a natural process of like learning how to do stuff. And for me, I don't know about you, but for me, like I always feel like I learn best when I just like figure it out on my own. So I almost have to like, it's hard for me to like listen to somebody lecture and like get something out of that. I think because I tend to daydream a lot, and I don't do so well whenever people are like instructing, lecturing me like that, But when I get to go in there and like sort of like figure it out for myself, I think is when I do really well with stuff. Like, do you feel the same way, or do you like to have people like the traditional kind of like learning?
I daydream a whole bunch too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I gain a little bit from both, but I certainly need both. I need a lot of hands-on. Like, I'll read the directions, I'll start doing it, and I'm like, oh, that's what they meant by that's what they were talking about in the directions. Like in my head, like I use both. I really have to do both.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm too nervous a person sometimes to just do it all on its own, and because I want to make sure I got it right the first time.
You ever I think like YouTube is actually pretty helpful with that, because being able to like watch videos of like things being done is like so helpful. And like there's like sometimes watching something like trigger something that's like just a you ever gone to try to do something and like the instructions are kind of like not 100% clear, but once you see somebody doing it, it's like, oh, okay, well that seems pretty simple. But I actually had like something that was I actually saw I watched the video, and it's like, this is when I first had the what's called a pop-up tent, and it's like a tent that like you literally could just like take it out of the packaging or whatever, and it like pops up into like the shape it needs to be, and you just need to stake it to the ground. Oh, you're familiar with it, yeah.
And it's like, yeah. Oh, that's funny because I thought you were saying that. That's right. You're in the Seattle area.
Oh,
You know what a pop-up tent is.
That you're gonna, yeah, well, yeah.
You are correct.
You've given away a few. You've donated a few to some of the people out there.
I'm very familiar with these pop-up tents.
That's funny because
I've come across quite a few of them
in the Seattle parking lots, the little communities.
In blocking my way to the grocery store.
That's funny because
it's bad.
I've actually got that pop-up tent I've got. It's an extra now because I bought a better tent, and so like maybe I need to like take it up there one of these days and I can like donate it like to somebody up there.
Please stop.
Or shoot, maybe I'll just take that tent myself and I'll go up there and I'll just live rent free for the rest of my life, dude.
Yeah, I told somebody that. I said, don't worry about me. If something ever happens to me, I think I can afford a tent. I'll buy the nicest tent I can find. Some really nice like outdoor weather stuff. REI.
Yeah, get a job at REI, and as soon as the employee discount
kicks in, and dude, I can live anywhere I want in Seattle.
Or just imagine like if you get like let go at your job, you already know like with your last paycheck, like okay, like let me just go ahead and get that freaking tent with this last paycheck, and that pretty much solves like your problem. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's like okay, like now there's no like pressure to go find another job right away because like now you got a tent. Yeah, like. It's funny though because
crazy.
No, but that pop-up tent, those things are, you get a lot of convenience out of them because obviously you can just like take them out and you like throw them out and stake them out. They're super easy. And at first I was like, oh, it's pretty cool, man. But I had one night where it actually rained when I was out at McDowell Mountain, and dude, the things underperformed so poorly. Like there was like all this like
what do you
rain.
mean?
It was like rain spritzing me in the face when I was like trying to sleep and stuff, and it was like
seriously,
yeah, dude. It was like and the wind was like, I mean, it's bad enough because it's like a 2-person tent, so you already kind of feel like you're like in a. It felt like I was like.
I'm waiting for the gag to be like you look at the packaging and it's like kids first tent or something like that. It's like, oh, what the hell? This isn't even a real tent.
Yeah.
It says clearly on there, not a real tent.
Novelty item, not intended to be used for camping.
Yeah, exactly.
The picture.
Do not leave children unattended. You see it. It is. You know how it has those pictures.
Yeah.
It has those little warning signs. It's like a kid like trapped in a tent and stuff.
I was gonna say the packaging on the tent shows like some kids like camping in like their living room or something. They ain't real camping. Yeah, I know. It was and like I was saying, is like those
their mom's right next to them, watching them, like
yeah,
like making sure they don't get trapped in the tent.
That thing, like honestly, that would probably be the appropriate use for that pop-up tent because it's like probably the best for like your backyard to where it's like okay, and the off chance it does start like raining or there's like few droplets of rain, it's like okay, everybody grab everything, grab your hot cocoa and all kids, everybody go in the house now and stuff. And
right,
but like me, I was like using it and I was like, it was like out in the mountain and it was like the rain didn't start coming till like I don't know, like sometime after midnight. And at that point it was like I didn't want to drive out of the park because it's really dark. Like driving out from those some of those mountain roads are like kind of winding and there's not a whole lot of like. I mean, you have your headlights and all that, but there's darn like a lot of like street lights and there aren't like traffic lights and stuff. So you're just like, driving through like the dark basically.
I'm sorry, it's like an earthquake happened.
No, it's all right. I think it's only recording whenever I talk anyway. So I think as long as I filibuster, as long as I'm babbling, like you're okay to be moving around a bunch on your head. What's going on, dude? Are you all right? I think you're either muted or you're like struggling to get oxygen.
Oh no, I muted it.
Did you mute yourself again? There could be like a home invasion or something going on at your house, and I wouldn't even know because you're like moving the camera around so much. Like, can you imagine that, dude? If we were like making a video for YouTube, and like some people like broke into your house and started like camera started shaking all over the place and stuff. That'd be a hilarious upload though, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I think you're still muted. Like I don't know if you're meant to be muted or.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, man. My tripod started getting wobbly for some reason. That's not what a tripod's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's
and, so it's exactly the whole point of a tripod for it not to be wobbly.
It failed at its own number one priority. What was wrong with the tripod? Was it like one of the legs was slipping?
It's one I got like on like Facebook Market, and I think I didn't set it up properly or something. There was no instructions.
Oh.
And I think it's I kind of kicked it with my foot a little bit, and it started to lower itself.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The legs were sliding or whatever, like settling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
because I tried to move it. Yeah, then I tried to move it again, and it started really wobbling, and then I lost control after we started after you were talking about there being a home invasion.
Yeah, dude, because I was like watching your screen all shake, and I'm like, well, if your tripod is unsteady, like you could be in some serious danger on your end. I wouldn't even know. I would just think it was just your tripod messing up, man. Because that's what like with the sound muted and everything. That's like kind of what it looked like, because everything was shaking and stuff. And I don't know why I thought came in my mind. It's like
it would have been better had you genuinely sound concerned.
I was just like, you're on just
not just mocking the idea of me being home invaded and stuff all the time. That's why I couldn't stop laughing.
What's funny too is that you probably just see me on screen like checking my text messages or something like that while you're doing it. That's fucking crazy, man. Like no, yeah, your screen was wobbling a lot. Like and I know because some of those like tripods and things like that, they have these weird like switches sometimes to like lock things into position, because you're talking about like it telescopes out, right? Or it telescopes to like a certain length or a height or whatever, elevation.
Yeah, it has like two things to elevate the height. Well, actually, there's three. There's another one where the legs like spread open, and like they get wide, like the stance of the tripod stand gets wider or gets more narrow, and that's the thing I kicked actually.
Yeah,
and that started to spread. And the whole tripod started
yeah.
lowering, and I was like, "What the hell?"
They started doing the
And then I
splits
exactly it started doing a split.
like
I thought it was
Jean-Claude Van Damme splits.
yeah, exactly. Just it started going into a JCVD split.
I
And
used
I was
to.
like, "What the hell?"
Speaking of Jean-Claude Van Damme, man, I used to always. I know I told Daniel about it before, and I know I told you before. I just think it's hilarious in Bloodsport, man. I know he's done it in a couple movies where like the the shot where he like gets out of bed after he's had sex with that I don't remember what her name is, but the reporter on Bloodsport.
Yeah, I
I think this is
remember.
Bloodsport. I don't think this is a kickboxer, but I think he does it in kickboxer also. And he gets out of bed, and like you can totally tell this is something that Van Damme is like. He like insists to be in the movie, that he like some sort of contract clause or something because it's like he was totally he's way too prepared for this shot because it's like he it was just like so gratuitous and he's like it had like nothing to do with the movie whatsoever, man. It's like I almost would have appreciated if they would have like just had him get up and have him have a towel or something around his waist or something. But why do they have to do that? And they do it to where it's like I don't know. I forget people are watching, but it's like if anybody's watching, it's like there's a scene where he gets out of bed and like right as like he's putting on his bikini brief man thongs or whatever. He's almost doesn't he almost like even like snap them on like when he puts them on. Like he doesn't just put them on naturally. He like almost like snaps them on, and he's all like is he's all like chisel defined and he's all like tan and stuff, and it's like a real gratuitous shot. And he's done that in a couple of movies, and it's like crazy because it's like yeah, there has to be like some level of narcissism, to like wanting to be show yourself like that all the time. And
Yeah, I always I remember I know the scene you're talking about. I always thought it was funny. I think he doesn't he like blow a kiss like at her or something like
I
that.
think so, yeah. And
Like yeah, you like something like that, right?
even like the splits where like I get the sense that it was like something he could do, and I get it is his trademark, and they kind of like worked it into the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was always like it was just always so weird the way they found ways to like different creative ways to work it in the movies and um
Oh, sometimes they don't even try to work it into a movie. Like in Double Impact,
yeah.
the one where he has his twin brother. At the very beginning of the movie, where you meet you start off with the one who's like in Hollywood or whatever, or Beverly Hills or whatever, and he's saying something about he goes, yes, uh, with with my karate and my ballet, I could do the split very easily. And he does the split, and the whole time he's like gyrating his crotch or something on like on one of the girls and stuff, and they're all like fainting and acting all super turned on and stuff.
And
Yeah,
that
that like it's like he's like he announced he was going to do a split to everybody,
and
and then made it completely sexual.
the
It's crazy.
yeah, what I always remember about that movie was that when he was like the supposed evil twin, that it was like
Which
such
one's
a
that one?
sloppy like archetype because the evil twin had his hair slicked back. I think
Are
he
we
was
talking
more like
about
a
the same movie or a different one? Because there's several movies where he's been a twin.
really. I was
Yes.
thinking about Double Impact, so I just figured when I
Oh,
started
okay.
talking about a twin, we were all on the same page. But
No, there's
if there are other movies,
yeah, there's Replicant.
oh, see, that's deeper
Uh,
into his catalog. I haven't been keeping up with the newer stuff really.
no, this is older stuff.
Really?
This is vintage.
Hmm.
This is vintage. Replicant, and then there's also Maximum Risk.
Maximum Risk sounds
And
like I sounds like I've watched that, but I have to go back
oh
and
no,
take a
I
look.
know you see Massive Risk. I think you've done a riff of Maximum Risk. That's a good one.
The thing is, with a lot of his movies, like they started to like the titles and the plot started to kind of like blend together. Where I, to me, it's like once he started having those movies where he started becoming more like not a martial arts star, but more like an action star, or he was trying to become more like an action star. Like when he started, like I think maybe it's Time Cop is the bridge there because like at like a certain point, like he started like all of a sudden it's like he started growing his hair out into like a mullet, and it was like it seemed like a couple of movies he made in a row where he was like on a motorcycle, and it just seemed weird. It was like, and I
I wonder if those were wigs.
the
Were they
mullets.
wigs? Yeah.
No, what
You
I
think
bet
he
you
grew his hair out that long?
I bet you he did. I bet you
Yeah.
he was
That's
trying.
that's a thing people who age do, like men. Sometimes we do that. Like we like grow our hair out long and stuff, and I guess I guess just to prove we can or something. I'm not really sure what that's about.
So you're saying that period of his movies were like his midlife crisis. He was just like
Yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm saying.
like the young Van Damme was when he was making like Bloodsport and Kickboxer, and it was like
Well,
uh
that's obviously. I mean, if we're speaking truthfully, that was like the peak of Holly of I would say of Hollywood, but just the peak of his films
yeah,
was
I agree.
was near the beginning was probably like the first like 10 films he did were all pretty good.
I'd say like
Maybe
the
not
first.
10, but something like that, somewhere in
I'd say
there.
like I'd say like a good maybe like five of the first ones you did were like Bloodsport. I'd say is probably like I remember the first time I watched it. I was a little kid. It blew my mind. I had to watch it. I think I watched it like three times. It was one of those movies where like I kept wanting other people to watch it, and I wanted to watch it with them. You know what I mean? Like when a
Yeah.
movie's like that good, and you keep rewatching it, and you like watching other people to see their reaction to it, and it's like you don't get tired of like watching it over. That's the way it was with Bloodsport. I was like, man, because at the time I don't know, like 7 years old or something. I don't know. I think I was like in the second grade, and it's like first or second grade, and it was like to me it was amazing because I've always liked the like the characters that don't really have a whole lot of like flaws or like they just like are just badasses. Like I kind of hate sometimes when they like when they make it I like in Bloodsport that the Frank Dukes character is like he's a badass from the get go and he's kind of like out of everybody's league. I don't know what the word of that type of like hero is, but like I'm not a big fan of like the one that's got like have you ever seen like shows? I know they used to do this on Heroes and it's like places where they have like the play shows and movies where they have like real sloppy writing. It's like they try to like take away the hero's power for a little while, or try to do something to kind of like add like
I,
artificial
I,
tension.
I like how I like how you're starting to come up with a scenario where somebody else's writing is sloppy, and you're comparing it to a Van Damme movie. You
Yeah,
realize what
the
you're
bar
doing,
is set pretty
right?
low. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like
I was just saying the other day that Van Damme needed to make a resurgence. I said, I would, people would go see a Van Damme movie as long as it was a like a real Van Damme movie and not some type of try to force him into doing something that he's not normally doing or try to like just like make it a cameo or just a whatever, but make like a movie like a Van Damme movie. Doesn't have to be the best one, just a real one, and put it in like the regular theater. And I bet people would flock just to go see it, just to be like Van Damme is back. I think there
see,
would be a total thing, right?
I
I would.
I don't know if I can see Jean-Claude Van Damme putting his heart into another project like that, because I almost feel like he probably really put himself out there on some of those real flop movies. Like I get the feeling that like I could totally have seen him like Street Fighter the movie, like getting really into character, or just like some of these other movies, like because some of these movies are like his movies, like you know what you're getting in the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and like I think Bloodsport like is great because it like and Bloodsport, Kickboxer and stuff, because they're kind of simple stories, but I guess is what I was getting at is like it's simple stories, but the guy is like a badass and he goes through his training and then he like is able to like mow down a bunch of enemies. I kind of like that, kind of like the like John Wick. I like the John Wick movies because it's like he's like an overpowered badass, and I like to see them like an overpowered badass like mow through a bunch of bad guys. Like I don't, and that's what I was getting at earlier. Is I don't like whenever they have like TV shows or movies and it's like the guy is supposed to be a badass, but then like for some reason they take away all his power and he's like throughout most of the movie or most of he doesn't have all, you know what I'm saying? Like that frustration of like, oh, like what the hell? It's like, why not just give us what we want, you know? Like we just want to see John Wick just like mowing through a bunch of guys and like, you know, we don't want to like even whenever he like loses stuff, like when he like lost his hand and stuff, he's still like a badass. Or like he lost his was it his finger, his hand? I can't remember. No, I think it's his finger, isn't it? Oh, spoiler alert! I don't know if anybody still hasn't caught up on the John Wick movies, but yeah, I think it's he loses his finger, right? And it's like I don't know. Maybe it just has something to say more about me. It's like I don't have time to get like emotionally invested in like the type of hero that's like gonna struggle all the time to get over on stuff. Like I like watching the overpowered heroes.
Yeah, like all the superhero movies, they always struggle. That's all they do is struggle, or they complain about being the superhero.
Yeah, they try to give it up or whatever, and you're like, well, like that annoys me.
I don't want these superpowers.
And you're left. You're watching a superhero movie, and like whenever you're watching it, and like 80% of the movie, the character is like in street clothes, doesn't want to be like a superhero or whatever, that kind of stuff. It's like
no, I want to be a real girl and have a hot girl summer.
Oh,
I don't know what they want. It's like, what do you Spider-Man? Put it back in your pants.
Or even like like I don't know if you remember, you've seen was it Spider-Man 2, I think? Is it the one where he turns into Venom? Or he gets a symbiote suit? One of those ones. And it's like
I don't even know. There's been so many Spider-Mans.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm referencing the right one. I might just be like
you're referencing like 3 generations of Spider-Man ago. You know that, right? I know that. I just realized that you didn't know that. That's
I'm
crazy.
like dating myself too. I'm like the old geezer, like the people on YouTube already gonna know what the hell they're gonna have to like look it up to know what movie I'm talking about. No, but yeah, but that movie, the same thing is like he spends a lot of time like not wanting to be Spider-Man. And he's like, and it's like, oh, like why even make this damn movie then?
Yeah, I don't remember any Jean-Claude Van Damme characters or Steven Seagal characters who didn't just immediately want to come out and start kicking everybody's ass. And that's the kind of hero I needed back then.
Steven Seagal movies. I'm sorry you brought that up, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, man,
anything about Steven Seagal is golden.
Dude, some of his later movies are like, man, he just looks like. I mean, I kind of remember that like the sort of the same thing. The first few movies were, I think maybe like the first one was like, I don't know. It's like was the first one a B movie also, and I just didn't even notice it. Because I'm like, I don't remember the guy ever.
Like the first few ones you're talking about?
Yeah, or like were they all B movies and I just didn't notice it because I was a little kid, or like was he a normal movies at first? Like, because I felt like the first one was like a normal movie.
I don't remember them all coming out to like the movie theater. Nor do I. I don't think I ever saw a single one of them in the movie theater.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's what I'm saying. Like I was like,
they
was
may
I just asleep
have.
a kid
I'm
back
sure they
then?
did. I'm sure they did because other people talked about them. But then again, this is gonna really date us again. We went to the video store, and that's where we got most of them at, and it certainly was there when
You
they
know,
came
it's
out.
I just thought about Mark for Death was actually like there was one point in that movie that kind of like illustrates what I was talking about, like the character freaking being in a coma, waking up, and he's like where he's been asleep for years or whatever, like 30 years or I don't know how long it is, whatever the movie said. I don't even. It might not have been that long because now that I'm thinking about it, it'd be kind of stupid if he was asleep for 30 years. He would have been an old man when he woke up. But
Yeah, but he's in a coma,
yeah, but he's in a coma.
and he's holding a grudge.
And he wakes up and it's like I don't know if you remember, but like he's trying to escape the freaking
The
hospital,
hospital.
and he's like in his bed and he can't use any of his muscles and stuff. Same thing with like
Yeah, he's
Uma
trying. He's like pushing himself with like just his fingers and
yeah,
stuff, like off
you
of
know,
stuff.
and I just it just dawned on me now that Uma Thurman did the same thing in like Kill Bill, doesn't she? Like because she's
Yeah,
like yeah, I just didn't realize I didn't even make the connection. I don't know if that was intentional or if that just coincidence that her character does the same thing. But I've always hated that. And whenever they do that in movies, I understand they have to do that to build like the character. But I'm like, man, just give me what I want. Just give me John Wick just mowing. Just make it like a video game for me. Formulaic. Have John Wick mow through everybody. Have him encounter some boss, quote unquote, boss characters along the way, like some tougher, like
I don't know. I feel like at least from that era, those scenes that you're talking about, they have some like little details in them that are I remember them. It's just like any other movie. I always like those little transitional scenes and stuff.
you know what?
You don't?
But like, what do you mean transitional scenes? Like when they're like weak or whatever?
Well, yes. If it's like a long period of time, it kind of sucks. But if you remember, at least maybe I don't remember it correctly either. So correct me if I'm wrong. But I thought that after Steven Seagal goes into his coma, there's like a scene where you kind of know what's happening. Like, oh, the okay, spoiler alert if you're if you haven't caught up on your Steven Seagal film politics, but the politician that like tries to have him killed or whatever, he becomes that politician, like he becomes like in power or whatever, and you see that like momentarily, like a quick little scene about that he obviously is now running the show or whatever. And then you jump back to the scene where he's like in the hospital and he's trying to get away, and I think Kelly LeBrock runs into him, the nurse, and then starts pushing him out of the hospital. Like they have a quick little conversation. It's all of like maybe like 5 minutes. It's not really that much. It's really not that much. Not that much. I can see what you're saying that in other movies they do this thing where like 30 minutes of the film or an hour of the film the person does not have their powers.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, two different things. I'm telling you, I get you. I think those action movies prioritize what they knew sold. It's like, dude, nobody cares about Peter Parker's journey, his crybaby
Yeah.
journey to
His
be
dating
Spider
struggles and stuff.
Man.
Yeah. Dating
Yeah,
struggles
his
with MJ and like
yeah. Nobody
yeah,
cares
that's
about that. We want to see a fight. That's all they wanted.
yes.
They want to see a fight. And I think back then in the era of like Steven Seagal and Van Damme movies, I mean that was the money shot, man. The 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 kick and the breaking of the joints and whatever it is they did.
Steven
The
Seagal
throat
movies.
punches.
I don't know if you've seen any of his newer movies, but they're like hilarious because I don't know if it's just he's gotten older or lazier, but like his
Both.
his movies, before his big like gimmick or his thing was like the what is it called, the keto, where he's like just reversing everybody's like attacks or whatever, and like it seems like he plays that up now, but he's like very lazy, so it's like not believable at all. It's almost like laughable because he's just like hardly putting any effort into it and stuff. And like I watched one movie one time, and they all start to blur together after a while. But I watched one. I kid you not, dude. They went to go like interrogate somebody that worked at a bar, and I want to say the guy either tried to get away or he didn't even do anything that bad. And Steven Seagal like freaking grabbed the bottle and like broke it over the guy's head as he was like, I want to say he was going to try to get away or he wasn't answering something. That was crazy. It's like, what? Like, what kind of a cop could get away with doing that? Think about it. Like, you get caught up in the movie at the time. It seems like cute, but like, what cop has the authority to go around and start like smashing like liquor bottles over like people like their heads while they're arresting them and stuff? It's crazy, man.
I can say this: I'd like those cops in my neighborhood. I need some more bottle smashing going on.
But one that also bothered me really was we mentioned earlier Kickboxer. Like I don't know if you like when I first watched Kickboxer 2, I thought was amazing. The second one, the sequel,
did you see Kickboxer 2? Sausage Mitchell?
Yes. I kid you not, when it came out, I was such an impressionable, stupid little kid. I didn't even realize it was like a direct to movie like sequel. I thought it was just like an actual like it's canon, but I thought it was just like on par with like the first one. I didn't.
Okay, after the film, after you watched it.
Both.
No, I'm asking.
Both.
I want you to be a little more clear.
Both.
After you watched the film?
Honestly, yeah, both.
Shut the hell. Shut up.
I
did not.
I remember trying to get people to watch Kickboxer 2 in the same way I tried to get people to watch Bloodsport. Not Kickboxer 1, Kickboxer 2, but Sasha Mitchell.
No.
I was hoping my cousins into watching it and stuff.
I had already seen Kickboxer 2 before I knew you. And I guarantee I know you, and I know how many times you try to show me a movie, quote unquote, show me a movie that the entire time you can't stop laughing before you even get the movie like loaded. So I know what that means, and you're doing it right now. So I know it means, hey, this movie's really stupid. You want to watch it and laugh at it with me?
No, the move is not even tell them that. The move is to just put it on there and like let it dawn on people like after a few minutes. But he will get emotionally invested in it, and then like start watching. I'd be like, "What? Like, huh? Like this is off." Like, no, but the thing that bothered me about freaking Kickboxer 2, Kickboxer 1, you're watching. What is his name? Eric Sloan. You're watching him, and he goes through all this trouble to freaking. The whole movie is like a setup to be like he's finally triumphs over Tong Po in the final fight. The climax is that he beats Tong Po in that fight, and he gets back Mei Ling's honor or whatever after she's been, after Tong Po had his way with her and stuff. And when they start Kickboxer 2, not only has the movie shifted over to the younger brother that had never been previously mentioned before, like a third brother that all of a sudden got invented. But in the first, like,
what are you talking about?
What are you
talking about?
In the first, like, 2 minutes, the Kickboxer 2, they explain to you that right after the fight from Kickboxer 1, that Tong Po went out to the parking lot with a gun and shot Eric and killed him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you're telling me that?
I think didn't he kill them both?
Yeah, I think so. That's how they got around like not having the original actors in the sequel.
Yeah, the brothers.
Like, we couldn't get either one because they both got killed off.
No, I remember, and I think it was like a black and white scene, right?
Yeah,
wasn't it?
And when they had supposedly Jean-Claude Van Damme laying there, like after he got shot, it wasn't even Jean. They couldn't even afford to get him to like just lay there for like a still shot. It was like some totally different actor. They just said it was Eric Sloan, but it wasn't Jean-Claude Van Damme. It was like some like different stand-in.
Was it?
Yeah, if you go back and watch it,
I remember that they used video like footage from the first film.
Yeah,
which actually was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
They had the rights to
in the
clips,
flashbacks.
Yeah, but they didn't want to pay. I'm sure they didn't want to pay to get. I'm sure it would have been like a minimum of $500. Van Damme's probably like, if I put my shoes on, it's $500.
So if I remember correct, wasn't he shot and then laying like face first in a puddle of water, like on the ground or something?
It was like raining, and he got shot, and I want to say they showed like Tong Po with the gun, and I believe the shot was quote unquote Eric Sloan, Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, in the foreground, kind of like laying in the rain, and you can only see like part of his face, like from the side, like where he was laying on the ground.
Right.
And they gave him like I think a gunshot wound in the head, so they kind of like put makeup on the guy to kind of like.
So you got like a quarter of his face to show.
Yeah, like, hey, put some more of that ragu sauce on it, but maybe we can sell this thing.
Dude, if you could look like this much like Jean-Claude Van Damme, you got a job. You could be the stand-in in Kickboxer 2.
They had to write into the script probably where like, yeah, at the last second that Eric grew a beard and all this stuff like to cover his face. No, but yeah,
they add a wig on, like a weird obvious wig on him for no reason. It's like,
yeah.
I don't even think he had long hair.
For some reason, he got shot. He was wearing Oakley sunglasses, and
there you go.
It's like, what the hell? It's like,
here's your championship belt we never mentioned. It kind of lands on top of him, like it's covering most of his face. I don't think that would happen either.
But it was crazy because, I mean, you start off watching the second movie. To me, it's like, are you kidding me? I spent an hour and a half watching part one and getting all emotionally invested in it. And at the end, being like, yeah, because Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, because he wins, because he beats Tong Po. And to start off watching part two and to know within the first 2 minutes, they're like, oh, you just wasted your time watching part one because he just got shot at the end. Like, what the hell? Like, it totally like deflated me because I was like, well, why the hell did I even watch part one then? It's like, why did you guys just start the story off with this third brother then? Like, if the other two brothers just get shot like after the match, like what? Like, that totally undermines this whole like, dude. He went and I don't know if you remember, but he went and he got like he was doing all this like training where he was like meditating and doing all this like spiritual journey kung fu kind of thing where he was like reconnecting with like the ancestors or something like that. Like, what was the point of all that if the Tong Po could just pull out a gun at the end after the match and shoot him? Like, it just, I know it's realistic, but it just makes you think like, what the hell? Who introduced this into the story? Because like at that point, it's like, well, what's the point of even getting invested in anything? Because it's like, why is anybody even trying to fight Tong Po in the ring at this point? Like, why are these martial arts movies like, okay, the main boss character like
I think maybe you missed the whole point of Kickboxer the movie.
What do you think I missed?
Well, obviously you missed the reason why he's fighting him in the ring is so that he can rescue his brother and the old man and the dog.
And Mei Ling's honor also.
I don't know how many things on her. I think everybody already knows they have a melee by now. By this point in the film, before they've resorted to putting glass on their fucking glass on their fist in a kickboxing match.
Do you remember
Yeah.
a movie called Hot Shots? Hot Shots Part 2 with Charlie
I was
Sheen.
just gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you. Part two.
Yeah. I don't even remember, but they had a scene where they mimicked that, and they had like, but there was like a freaking like ice cream topping station, and they were like dipping their fists in, and they were like putting out
Oh
the
yeah,
ice cream
yeah, yeah,
demonstrating
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
I do. Part two. Yeah, that's the one where it's supposed to be like the. It opens up like the Rambo sequel.
Yeah, there was no part one, but for some reason they thought it'd be cute to call it part two, which
Yeah.
to me was always confusing. It was like I
No,
remember,
there was a Hot Shots and a Hot
was
Shots
there?
Part two. Yes.
Maybe I'm thinking of Leonard Part Six. Then
Yes, there's definitely a Leonard Part six, and there was no Leonard Part one, two, three, or four, or five.
you never tried asking for Leonard Part One through Five at the video store.
No. I I think I saw Leonard. I think I saw that movie at the theater. I think I
Wow.
did. I think my sister took me there to. I'm sure it was probably the Dollar Theater. I know people. I think Dollar Theater still exists. But anyway, the $1 theater. I think that's where we went to go see it, and I think I saw it twice.
So the star power of Bill Cosby was that strong that you like were drawn to see that movie?
Dude,
I
I
you
mean,
know
I was eating pudding box back then.
I remember that movie being like it was supposed to be a big thing. I wouldn't say it's like a flop. I think it was just like
Wait. It was like I had never heard of it until like I literally walked in to the movie theater as a kid and watched it, and then we watched it again for some reason.
I
I
think
think
so.
because we thought
Well,
it was funny.
first off, I'm like my mind is blown that you ended up in the movie theater watching Leonard Part Six, and you it was just like a cold approach. You had like no idea whatsoever. Like I
Yeah.
guess that at that time Bill Cosby was probably like a big.
No, I'm telling you, I don't think it had anything to do with Bill Cosby, man. I'm sure that's probably what disarmed us from looking at the like preview or something.
I was about to say
Well,
like
this is a
the
time
movie's
before previews,
terrible.
man. Yes, it was terrible, but it was funny. There was the rainbow fish or whatever it was, and it was like kind of like a piranha.
I don't really remember it too well, but I think I
He was
remember
he
it
was
was
like
supposed.
what's his name? Inspector Gadget.
I think like what I'm trying to reach for, and I think that's sort of the same thing we're talking about with Van Damme. It's like they did that somewhere along the way they make like certain movies and they're successful with them and they're formulaic. But I think it's the same thing happens with like bands and stuff. Like they suddenly decide like, oh well, we've had 3 hit records in a row. Like let's try switching it up for the next one, you know? And I think that's kind of like Bill Cosby. I think I remember Leonard Six was supposed to be because he was like always a funny guy, but I think it's supposed to be kind of like a crossover into like actiony comedy kind of thing. And like I think with I can't specifically point out anything with Jean-Claude Van Damme, but I feel like if you were to go back and like watch all his movies like in sequence like that they came out or whatever, I bet you could track it to where there's like okay, the first few ones are like martial arts films, pretty straightforward kind of movies I like where it's just like okay, it's just straightforward character. He's a badass. He goes through a sensei training. He mows through everybody and he fights the final boss. I like that kind of stuff. But I bet you somewhere along the line there's a freaking movie where he thought to himself, "This is gonna be my chance to show them that I can really act." this is gonna be my chance to show him that I'm funny, also, or something like that. And
What?
that's what, yes. And I guarantee you, everybody like
Maybe he was pushing in on that on Leslie Nielsen's territory, like on Naked Gun. He's like, man, I'm gonna be the guy.
yeah, like the
I'm gonna
Cosby.
be the king of this hill.
It's possible, but like I guess what I'm saying is like they're supposed to like open up a whole new avenue for him, where they're like expecting this to be like a huge thing. Ends up not being. I kind of feel like some of these movies where Jean-Claude Van Damme is not doing so much martial arts. I feel like some of them were probably like he probably thought like, okay, like this is whatever.
He needs somebody around him to be honest with him, because I think he probably does have some actual raw talent, but he doesn't know the first thing about like what's expected of him, or what he needs to be doing, or anything. Because that's what when I'm not kidding when I said I said I just had the thought the other day. It'd be cool if Van Damme had like a resurgence somehow. Like, and I think when I settled on like a real Van Damme movie, it's because I think that's probably what would put butts in the seats type of thing. Like a resurgence, like, oh, this is a throwback to the old films, it's nostalgia. But
well, I mean, do you
in reality, I mean, while he probably could have been a good actor, like actual good actor, somewhere down the line, I'm not saying. Like,
I was about to hold on a second.
Not win an Academy, but like be a good actor. Like you would consider what's his name from The Matrix. You would consider him to be a good actor, but you wouldn't say, oh, like he deserves to win an Oscar. No, but they're good actors.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
Okay. Even then, I don't know if I'd say he's a. I mean, I don't know if I'd say he's not a bad actor, but I don't know if. I mean, good's got to mean something, doesn't it? I mean,
But you know what? Okay, but he's been in films where it's not about action, like I don't know, just like any of his other films that aren't The Matrix, and like it would have been kind of cool to have seen Van Damme in a film where he was accepted as something other than the guy who kicks people in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Dr. Zhivago. It just says
I don't know how you get there though with like, I mean, his delivery on some of those script lines, like I know like in Street Fighter, it's like, I mean, Street Fighter is an all around bad movie, but his dialogue delivery is like so laughable that it makes the movie almost like absurd. Like, and that's why I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like I almost feel like, yeah, it'd be kind of, the novelty would be kind of funny to see like Jean-Claude Van Damme, like you say, like playing a straight role, or I'm not even sure what you're looking for, but like maybe where he's like a wacky neighbor or something like that, or like like what I'm saying, or like something weird like that, but like
no, in reality, the role, whatever role, the best roles for Van Damme have been roles that have been written around. What we need is a character who kind of looks like, and Van Damme kind of fits that. Yeah, exactly. And Van Damme always fits like the character because he looks like an action hero.
No, the first thing,
that's. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the first thing they start off with is like, okay, is there some sort of way we can write this character having to do the splits? Like, that's like the first thing we had to, like, okay, there's a starting block there. Okay, like all right, we have a list of these characters, like Mr. Van Damme, like we can write you to be any one of these characters. These are the characters we can actually like. We can invent some sort of reason for us to do the splits, like on a consistent basis.
That would be a question I would actually ask Frank Dukes. He does a lot of interviews, and that would be a question I would ask him. I would ask him, hey, since that's the first movie I can think of where he does a split, most notably in. I would say, hey, that scene where you have to do a split, and then the other scene where you do a split and you punch the sumo wrestler like underneath his loincloth. Did those really kind of happen, or they were inspired by something you did, or is that a Van Damme original?
You know what?
Because that'll tell you the truth. That'll tell you the truth because it's not. He does it. He does it all the time after that. If it was like if it originally happened, then I'd be like, okay, well, inspired. Otherwise, it's Van Damme being obsessed with being able to do a split.
Now that you mentioned it, that is a good point, because is that shoehorned in, or was that like, were they all kind of like, yeah, or was it inspired, or were they all, or was there all some sort of like unspoken agreement between all of them that they're all like, we're just gonna make each other sound like badasses, so we're just gonna like totally like reinvent what happened and stuff, and like everybody's gonna like look the other way and like not question.
Or maybe Van Damme's, he lives life through a different lens than we do. Maybe in his way, like in his world, in his mind, it's like giving somebody an uppercut. You wouldn't be like, oh, you did an uppercut. That's my thing. Nobody else can do an uppercut. In his world, he does a split and punches people in the testicles. That's just his thing. If in every fight he eventually gets around to a punch in the testicle split maneuver.
So I guess you could pretty much just take like any generic action movie, and you could just go into the Microsoft Word program and just like insert in like he does the splits and like evades like a gunshot or something, or like he does the splits and does a karate chop to the guy's knee or something, like.
Okay, now that we're saying, I knew, and I'm sure you knew we were kidding when we said it, but now we say it out loud. That's ridiculous. That's not a thing.
No, but
that's not a thing.
Yeah, this like Steven Seagal movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, they're all pretty horrible, but I don't know. It's like they all just blend together, and I think that happens a lot with these guys who are just like Nicolas Cage is another one. Like there's so many you forget like, and they're like. Did you
say Nicolas Cage movies blend together?
Yes.
They do, but can you describe what it is they blend together like? Because I can't really describe.
I don't know. Have you seen?
I don't have a good description of them, but they're all bizarre.
Have you seen the shoot? What is the name of this? Wally's Wonderland, I think. I think that's what it's called.
Wally's Wonderland.
I don't know, but it's basically I think it's kind of like a play on that Five Nights at Freddy's game. I've never played the game, but I'm kind of just guessing like that's what it is.
I saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Okay, well this is like the Nicolas Cage, not version of it, but yeah, like he gets locked into a pizza place overnight, and is it a pizza? Yeah, it's like a Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing, and the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics like. They're actually like I want to say like serial killer reincarnations or something like that, or like spirits of like killers like in there. So it's kind of video gamey like also because it's like as the night's going on, he's like facing off against all the different characters. And now that I'm mentioning it too, one thing I do like is that they do the same thing. They make him like an overpowered character that, like, hardly ever like faces any kind of like. You never really get the sense that he's like in danger of losing a fight. He's just like beating their asses the whole time. I think that's what I
Really?
like. Yeah,
Yeah, I just don't think of Nicholas Cage as being a badass in movies. You know who I think of being as like a badass in movies?
what's that?
Who's like always like, oh please don't fuck with him. They're just gonna get their ass kicked. Is Liam Neeson. A
I can
Liam
see that.
Neeson movie. Liam Neeson walks into like in a movie and he's like the badass at the bar that you know like some like young dude comes in smarting off and then he smarts off to Liam Neeson and everybody at the bar is like, oh no, Liam
Well,
Neeson's gonna kick his ass.
it's funny because the Taken 1 and Taken 2 movies actually are like, I have them in the same kind of like vein as like the John Wick movies that like I like the characters who are like overpowered badasses and like
Oh yeah.
they mow through like the foot soldier bad guys, you know?
Yeah. So in my family, what we do is we play this game whenever we watch a movie. We don't always do it. We used to do it a lot when we had our kids. But we would go, look, that one's you. And we would start assigning people. Sometimes it wasn't nice.
That's funny.
Sometimes we make people like people who are like real goofy and stuff, and we'd like that was you. That it's funny because my wife would she a lot of times kind of had like the final say so like sometimes I'd be like, oh look, I name one of the kids. I would think something's really funny by naming something one of the kids, and then or I try to make myself somebody really cool, and my wife would be like, no, that's not you. You're like, damn it, how come not? Anyway, I was getting to the point that she always made herself the overpowered badass. Like when, like one of the movie series we watch all the time is Fast and the Furious movies, and she's always Vin Diesel. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. She's like, oh yeah, there I am. I'm like, damn it! How come you get to be Dom all the time?
How many of those have they made? They've made like quite a few of them, haven't they?
Oh man, 10 of them.
See, those kind of blended in for me. I think I kind of could
Those are
differentiate
good
it.
though.
I'm not gonna say that they're bad, but they never really called my attention. I I think they're probably pretty entertaining, but they're almost entertaining like in a kind of like in a way that's kind of like boring to me. And that's just me like personal taste.
They're entertaining. Not obviously in the same literal way, but in the same vein, the way you know how you like some of that trash TV,
Oh yeah,
like yeah, okay. I'm not even
like
gonna divulge.
Jersey
I'm
Shore
not
and
even gonna divulge. Yeah, I was
what's the
gonna
other one?
name shows.
No, I'm
I
already
was gonna start
like
naming.
Buck Wild is the
But
one.
in the
Yeah,
okay, whatever garbage TV it is you watch
yeah,
these days, that it's in the same vein as that. Like, as long as you accept it for what it is, it's fun. Like, we like to watch Fast and the Furious. We don't claim Fast and the Furious is a good movie that everybody has to watch because it's like it's moving or anything of that nature. Um, but I think if you want to have like if you're bored and like you want to watch a movie that's just gonna be like fun to watch,
yeah.
yes, Fast and the Furious movies are great to watch.
No, that's why I said I wouldn't say they're bad movies, and I'd say they're like they fall into the type of movie that's like has like a lot of budget behind it, and they have a lot of like star power, so they have like a lot to keep them entertaining. You know, it's like different from like a movie that's like not really that good, but doesn't have any production behind it. So it's like, well, what the hell is what's gonna like? Why am I gonna invest my time? You know, like,
Yeah.
and I think actually like the first few of Well, I think with everything else, the first few like really stood out to me, but like as they start going into like the fourth and fifth and all that, it's like they start to blend in together to me, and I lost track of them once they stopped naming them by that number. Because then they start naming them like then they start calling them different things, and it's like once they got off like
And
the,
they did
the
that. They
numbering
did that
thing.
to the very first one. Part 2 wasn't even called Part 2.
Yeah, like once it when no,
Part
it was
2?
Too
No,
Fast,
it
Too Furious,
wasn't.
isn't it?
That's my point. It wasn't called Fast and the Furious Part 2. It was Too Fast, Too Furious. And then it was Tokyo Drift.
Yeah,
Part 3 was called Tokyo Drift. And then so that was already not even called Fast and the Furious anymore.
that's the one I remember. I think that's around the
You know
time
what's
that I.
funny is that you and my wife and I have to agree with her. We completely disagree on which Fast and the Furious movies you should have been watching. Because you said, yeah, I watched the first couple of them, and then they all start blending together. It's funny because she says that she likes the first one. I think it's a bunch of BS. I don't think she actually likes the first one. I think she just likes to say that she likes the first one, but she doesn't. The first one takes itself serious as a like a it's kind of like a I don't know. It was supposed to be a different kind of movie. It's nothing like the rest of the movies.
Yeah.
The first one is something else. Part 2 is undercover cop buddy film. Completely different. Vin Diesel's not even in the second one.
Huh?
Tyrese, yeah, Vin Diesel isn't even in the second one. Tyrese is in the second one with the guy who plays whatever the blonde guy's name is. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, so
Paul
and there's
Walker.
other people in there. Yeah, Paul Walker. Paul Walker is in the second one. He kind of takes the lead. He's the lead in the second one, and Tyrese is his buddy. And then I think Eva Mendes is in the movie and stuff too. Anyway, and then there's Tokyo Drift, which has nobody from any of the movies, which is weird because honestly, I actually kind of like that one. That one's actually pretty fun.
Tokyo
I
Drift.
didn't like it. I did not like it when I first watched it, and I'm sure it's because I was like, this has nothing to do with this. This is just some stupid
Yeah,
knockoff.
that's kind of what I felt like.
Yeah. Looking back at it now, I look back and I enjoy that movie. I like it as a movie by itself because then after that, the movies get good because Vin Diesel returns, Paul Walker returns, everybody comes back. It's nostalgia, and it's been updated. Now I think the first one's pretty cool. But they do lean into GPS because GPS had really just kind of become a real big thing in people's cars. And like the first one, there's this whole gimmick where they're like following the GPS, like half the screen is GPS, and you're just following a line around, and they're having GPS hijinks going off of things, and the GPS keeps telling them, "You make a U-turn, make a U-turn." You know, it's just a gimmick.
It sounds like the dial-up internet connection booting up, like
Yeah,
the free AOL
yeah,
disk.
yeah. Exactly. It's real dated. Like when you go back and see it, you're like kids these days are gonna be like, "What the hell is this? Like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. What is this thing going on?" They won't understand it. It was like
I
such a small little period in time.
I'm like not to
The
cut you
one
off, but I
after,
go ahead.
go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna
No, I was gonna
say
say the one after that, I believe, is the one where they go to Brazil, and that's the one where The Rock shows up. And that's
okay.
the one. Honestly, that's the if you want to watch a Fast and the Furious film and like just be like enjoy it for what it kind of is now or what it's supposed to be kind of be now, that's a good one to start at.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna say like, don't they have like I don't know when they started to get crazy or if they were always crazy, but then they have like Ludacris and The Rock, and don't they have like is
Yeah,
Jason
but
Statham in there also? Or is
yes, yeah. Jason Statham eventually becomes part of a part of the films. I'm telling you, start right there, and you'll kind of just enjoy it. Like you won't find anything. Like you might still find something. You might still find things humorous, and I'm sure it's unintentional on their part, but you won't find anything like this was so annoying that they kept doing this, they kept doing that.
Yeah,
From that point on, the like for the Brazil one where the Rock's in it, from there that point on, they kind of realized like, hey, we have a money machine, like we have a real thing.
yeah,
Like you can tell they started investing money into the movies. Um, Whether they got the writing didn't get much better, but it got clever at least. Like it got clever. It didn't. They knew what their demographic was. They knew what the
yeah.
people wanted,
That's
and
not
they
to
gave
say.
them what they wanted. And they gave them what they wanted,
That's not to
and
say
which
they
is good.
probably. Yeah, they were able to invest more money, but invest money in where the people wanted to see the money, kind of thing, instead of just like investing
Instead of trying
money
to
in.
figure out, yeah, trying to figure out, be like, let's throw girls at them. Let's throw Eva Mendes. Let's throw Ludacris. Let's throw. They're just throwing shit. Honestly, they're just throwing stuff at films and hoping that one of these things is the thing that sticks.
Like
And it,
I was gonna say
and it,
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say what stuck was they liked that the what do you call it, the chemistry between those people, and how they make it look cool being basically like heist people,
Yeah,
because they're heist films. They become heist films is what they become, and it becomes cool, and it's like Ocean's 11, but with like cool people like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and street racing. So I think they were fun after that. They're corny, but they're fun, and you don't, I never walked out of one and thought, ugh, that was gross. Like that was a really bad experience. I wish I hadn't gone to go see that.
yeah. I know I think I've seen them all at some point. I used to listen to a podcast um, called "How Did This Get Made," and it was like a bad movie podcast, and like because I wanted to like they would like talk about the bad movies afterwards. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well they did an episode for each one of those, so I like went back and I like and like you said, it's like they're not really bad in the sense of like not enjoyable and they're not like low budget. They're just like I don't know, and I won't even say they're like simplistic because they're not really simplistic. They're just more like they're like easy to consume, I guess. Like I
Yeah,
think that's the
yeah.
best way I can think of like to put it. So I know I've seen them all, but I just as far as like being able to straighten them out, I think I lost a narrative somewhere along the way. I couldn't straighten them out, but I know I've probably seen them all, or at least I've had the TV on in the background while it was playing, and I might have been on my phone or something. But
It's
I,
fine.
yeah,
One of these days you'll watch them all in order or something, and you'll be like, oh my god, I just watched Fast and Furious.
binge
It was so
watch them.
fun. Yeah,
Like
yeah. Everybody does that.
like
I you know I try to convince some people to watch like some Marvel films, like the ones that were good, and then like they won't watch it, and all of a sudden they'll watch it, and they'll come and tell me how they love whatever, whichever one, like whichever Avengers movie it is that they like. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, they're good.
earlier when you were mentioning about spending money in the right places, I right away the thing that I thought of was Street Fighter the movie, because like Street Fighter the movie, I
Oh
think
yeah.
like they made a huge mistake like trying to go after like either trying to cast each like fighter as like a well-known actor or as well known as they could afford. So it's like you're kind of getting like known actors, but it's like these aren't really like you don't really need like great actors. It's just like a fight movie, It's like why do you need like the girl who played Chun Li was like before then she was on like General Hospital, and she had won some sort of, I think she had won like an award or something. I don't know, it's just like it seems great, and I'm
Yeah.
sure like the executives like they thought like, oh, this is gonna ensure that the movies, it was, they had good intentions. They probably thought like, okay, Street Fighter is such a hit, we're gonna make sure that this movie's gonna do really well. We're gonna spend a lot of money. We're gonna get, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme. We're gonna get this and this, because Jean-Claude Van Damme was, he was still pretty riding pretty high. It wasn't like he was like a director. He was like had come off some hits still, so he was still like a hot commodity. So like to get him for a movie like that was kind of a big score. But I mean, geez, just, I mean, I don't know. I almost think like the movie would have been better like without like all the name actors, and just like, I don't know, not like what
You know, the
Bloodsport.
guy who.
I was
Oh,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
before I would say Bloodsport, the movie. They should just made that like a Street Fighter like that. Like we're just like where they're fighting guys, and they're just like
Yeah.
these no name guys, and just make the fights look better and more realistic. But that's what you were gonna say.
Oh well, I'm not 100% sure, but I was gonna say right now when you said that, I think sometimes they man, they bite off way more than they can chew. Like they want to make this expansive world on this thing, and I think probably 9 times out of 10. And I don't have the true statistics, but I would, if I was a betting man, I would bet that most people who end up being a director for a movie like Street Fighter or something like that are not even like fans of like that
Yeah,
video games, much less Street Fighter. Like they
yeah,
don't really, they're not tuned in into what the demographic of the people you're making this film actually for. Because if you're trying to make, if you think Street Fighter has some sort of like, this is probably the misinterpret. This is probably where they probably got the pitch wrong. I like Street Fighter and you like Street Fighter, but there weren't that many people like as a kid in my classroom who was into Street Fighter as much as I was. You know what I mean?
hmm,
So it's not some like worldwide phenomenon that everybody's into it, and all you got to do is stick the label Street Fighter on it, and everybody's gonna come running. So you don't have to do that. Like you don't have to sell it like that. You know, what you need to sell it to is to the people who already like it, and they'll come out. Like they've already proven they'll spend the money. They'll spend the $60 or whatever it is on the video game. Um, and then now they'll spend the $12 and they'll bring their friends and whatever to come see a movie. But that's not what they made. They're trying to make something. They're trying to make something for a demographic that doesn't exist.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy also is like I also think that sometimes some of these like studios or whatever, like I think they show a lot of like greed, because when they come out with a movie like that, you can like when you said world building, that kind of triggered me to think about this. Like you can tell they're thinking like, ooh, this is gonna be a franchise that we can milk for a long time. So let's start off at the very very beginning with the most like, I don't know if you, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like some of these superhero movies, they like annoy me when like they waste like one of these superhero movies like 80% of the story is like he doesn't have his powers, and it's like he barely becomes Spider-Man at the very end or something like that. It's like, why'd you waste our time with the first one? Like
Yeah.
I almost think they should like just go straight to like the really interesting like best stories. But they probably feel like, well, we want to work up to that one. We want to,
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're taking the opposite approach of what they did with like the Street Fighter movie. Instead, they assume that you don't know anything about Batman.
yeah,
You've never heard of Batman. Nobody's ever heard of Batman. You're gonna have to teach everybody who Batman is.
Well,
That's like bizarre. You're like, what?
even
No,
if
everybody. That actually is a world phenomenon. Everybody knows who Batman is. All you have to do is just make a movie. Now go ahead and start, like you said, at the best story. They have those, they have those graphic novels and stuff
yeah,
of like Batman and stuff. Those like all inclusive books. Yeah, just do that. I don't know. I'm with you on. I'm baffled as well. I don't know
they
why
always
they
try to
would just
slow
do that.
play it, and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna save that one for part 3 or part 4, and it's like you do realize that part 1 doesn't do well. There's not gonna be a part 2, even like it's like you got to go
Yeah.
all out in the first one, man. Like get straight to like. Maybe I'm picking on Spider-Man, but I'm pretty sure some of these movies are like you take forever building up to like the villain, or you spend a lot of time like I don't know. It's just crazy to me because it's like at the very very end you'll get like he finally recognizes he's this, or finally recognizes he's that, and it's like I don't know if you remember that show on TV, Heroes.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, you remember they had one season where one of their main characters he lost his powers for almost the entire season, and the whole season was
Yes.
like, and it's
Was
like,
was was him trying to fumble around trying to eventually get him
yes,
back? Yeah.
who thinks that this is like what we want to see? Yeah, like who like ooh, that feeling of being like real frustrated, or like being real like can't do stuff. Well, buckle in. We got a whole season of that for you. Like yeah, a hero is gonna
I
have to like
love those.
a hero is gonna have to like run from every like weakling. A hero is gonna have to like run from every just foot soldier and stuff.
Those are always my favorite episodes of cartoons. Where like Superman is on a planet and they have kryptonite around his neck, and he doesn't eat, and he has to fight everyone barefoot or something.
Yeah.
You're like, what? This sucks. Like, yeah, and he's getting beat up by normal fodder and stuff.
Or like
Yeah,
Ninja Turtles when
great.
Leonardo is fighting with 2 katana swords, and he's like hitting people with like the
And
butt of them.
yeah, and he has no mask on for some reason. You're like, ugh, put it back
Yeah.
on. Put it back on.
But like like he's got the swords and he's like hitting people with the like butt of it and stuff. It's like what? Like same thing with Raphael. It's like I always thought they shortchanged Raphael with the size because like all the other turtles got like the iconic like weapons, and the size are kind of like I don't know. They're
Oh, before I forget, dude, they're making a Last Ronin movie. That's
last Ronin.
the Ninja Turtles Last Ronin.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
that
know.
cop. That's that comic where like there's one turtle left, and then everybody else is dead.
Oh, I hadn't heard of that. Huh.
Yeah,
That's pretty interesting.
that's pretty. Yeah, it's a pretty cool comic.
Do you
Um,
remember Usagi Yojimbo?
yeah.
My brother used to have a lot of comics, and he had some Usagi Yojimbo comics, and the comics were so good, and they were like, man, like I don't know, maybe I guess because it's a comic, it's different. It's like a little more. It wasn't like gory or like but it seemed more like a samurai comic. It just happened to be a
Oh yeah.
freaking bunny rabbit, and
Yeah.
it was so cool. He was fighting against like the guy he was fighting against was like a pig, but he had like he had gotten his nose cut off in a freaking in a sword fight, I think, and so he had like a prosthetic nose, like a prosthetic pig nose over like a fake one, and supposedly he was like I think he was blind also, and he like but supposedly his like nose was like real super powered, where like he could find like he couldn't hide from him because he could like smell you anywhere, and it was like man, it's like they really like should have leaned into Usagi Yojimbo. He was like such a cool like Ninja Turtle sub character.
Well, they were selling toys. That's the honest truth. Is Ninja Turtles is an American comic, and they're selling toys.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Japan, I don't know. It's pretty. It's just different. It's a different world. In Japan, they make comics and anime and stuff like that just to make that. Like they don't. I'm sure they. I mean, they sell manga and
Yeah,
then they sell toys and stuff, but they really only. I assume really the big money makers are probably the same big money makers here. You know, like your main comics, whatever is popular.
I I think it had something to do with I don't know if they changed the laws, but I know like especially with us, like when we had like those Saturday morning cartoons, like I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm sure you probably know about it that a lot of those were actually like funded by like the toy manufacturers. So it was like a lot of the like you and I watching them thought like, oh, like we like this cartoon and then here's the toys to support the cartoon, but it was actually like no, like we're creating these toys and so make some cartoon up to like sell it to these kids. It was like it was like the other way around. It was like
Yeah.
wagging what is it, the tail wagging the dog, whatever. Like
Oh yeah.
the toys came first. The toys came first and the freaking cartoon was an afterthought just to like sell the toys to us. They created a world to sell to us.
Yeah, that's how we got Transformers.
Transformers was awesome though, but yeah, no, I mean, um, there was I don't know if you remember they used to have some pretty good story arcs, and they had one that was like really good um where they all turned. I don't know if you remember they all turned red, or there was some sort of disease where they were like all turning on each
I
other.
remember that one. I remember
That was
one.
one of my favorite ones. Yeah.
They all got like infected with this virus that made them
Mm-hmm.
all kind of crazy.
And they were fighting against each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was like
And eventually got to everybody, and like everybody was fighting amongst each other.
yeah, I think there was like one Autobot who like happened to be immune or something like that, or he didn't get hit by it, and I don't remember how it worked, but it was like it was like a big story arc. I remember. I really enjoyed it.
They're making a Transformers. It's like a CGI film, and it's like an origin film of when Optimus and Megatron were both just robots on Cybertron,
Hmm.
and like how they got their powers and everything.
You know what's crazy is I never, when I was a little kid, I never really even cared. It just dawned on me now that like I used to watch this show with like these robots and stuff, but I never bothered to like, because like apparently they're like aliens. I didn't even put that much thought into when I was a little kid. I thought they were just robots, and it's like, why are they like fighting? It's like I just figured because one of them was good and one of them was bad. One of them was the good guys, and one of them was the bad guys, and like they changed into this. I don't know. I just like it's shocking to me to like find out like oh there's like this backstory of like this alien planet and this history between them, and I'm sure they gotta flesh out their universe to to make it make sense. It's just like I don't know. I just like I don't remember even caring about all that. And I guess just it's something you don't think about when you're a little kid. It can just I don't know. I guess I
Yeah,
just
yeah, of course. We like the fighting part,
yeah.
like the battling and like the revealing of the new robots and stuff like that. Yeah, of course. That was the part we looked forward to the most. But
I
there was
still
definitely a storyline, but there wasn't. It wasn't the primary focus of the show, which was the backstory of the show, which was that they were trying to figure a way to get back to Cybertron, and at least I think that's what they were doing in the first season. I think
yeah.
that's what it was.
I always thought it was kind of a weird thing that like the Autobots were the good guys and they were the cars and the Decepticons were the bad guys and they were the jets because I was like, well, aren't the jets just? I mean, aren't they like superior? Like I don't understand why. Like I don't know. Like
What's even stranger is like you find out like in the origin stories, like the Decepticons, you find out like they were the ones who were the slaves actually, and the Autobots were like
the oppressors.
the oppressors and stuff.
But I'm like, I just always thought it was like weird that they didn't get. It wasn't like a even like dividing line, because I thought like, well, that sucks, because like couldn't couldn't the Decepticons just like fly over like like rivers and like lakes and oceans and stuff like that, and like what are the Autobots gonna do, you know? Or like they could like fly up into the mountains and like, I don't know. To me, it just seemed like it's not an even war.
Flying was such an advantage, like an obvious advantage.
Yeah. I just I almost feel like they needed to go back to the drawing board and like think of a better way of like, they should have made it to where like both of them had jets and both of them had cars kind of thing, and found some sort of other way to like just make the Decepticons being like robots that like I don't know, that they had a malfunctioning AI chip or something like that, you know, or they believe that like I don't know, they wanted to see robots running the universe or something, you know.
Yeah, I'm not real big into the lore of Transformers. I know a little bit about it here and there, but I'm sure there's an explanation. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's watching it and being like, "Oh my God, these guys don't know anything. What a bunch of losers."
I'm sure I'm gonna get some rude comments about it in the comment section about, don't talk about Transformers ever again. Don't you ever, you know, like something like that.
You know, the first thing.
But yeah, no, I honestly like to me, it always, even as a little kid, I always questioned that. It's like, that kind of sucks. The good guys are like in cars. Like the bad guys get to fly around in jets, like.
Yeah, I know. I always thought that same thing too.
Yeah,
I know that the jet though, the people who were like actually jets, like the ones who turned into jets, I think they were jets before they became Decepticons or Autobots, like before that whole thing happened. But it doesn't explain all the other ones, because I at least as far as I remember there were Decepticons that were like tanks, and yet somehow they could just fly away, like Superman. And it's
yeah, I kind of remember that too. Like
how
the
come we
construction
can't
ones,
do that?
right?
Yeah,
The Constructicons.
yeah, they could all just fly away.
Or no, it was
Even Megatron could just fly away.
the Dinobots.
And he's a gun, and he turns into a gun.
Yeah.
The Dinobots were the exception. The Dinobots are the only Autobots who can fly.
Yeah, I remember. The Dinobots, honestly, like,
with the exception of like one or two.
The Dinobots,
unless they have
like,
jetpacks. Like, why don't you guys just have jetpacks then?
The Dinobots always, it kind of reminded me of like I don't know. They kind of reminded me of the same thing of like the Michelangelo character. They were like obviously like meant to like, they were like just to play to like the like obvious like pandering to like the 8-year-old boys.
Kids like dinosaurs. Yeah. All kids like dinosaurs.
It was so clear.
Dinosaurs,
it was so clear that they were like favorite status in the show. Because for one thing, they can fly, and it's like, wait a second. Are you telling me that the dinosaurs can fly, but the cars can't? You're telling me that the rest of the Autobots are like, wherever the freeway is, like, can take it as far as they can go, you know? Like, they don't even have off-road vehicles, dude. They like had to stay on like paved roads. Like, I'm sure they could get off of paved roads, but then they're gonna F up their transmissions and their suspensions and stuff. Like, it just seemed to me like, well, it just seemed to me like, man, if you want to be an Autobot, it's like hilarious. You're like,
I can see the mid battle. Oh my God, hold on a second. I need to change out spark plugs.
Yeah, or like,
I bent the rotor.
What do we gotta do? The Decepticons are getting away. It's like, well, the freeway ends right here, so I guess we have to wait till they come back.
It's okay. I was running low on gas anyway.
Yeah. Like, to me, it's like, yeah, the Decepticons, like, why aren't the Decepticons just going in there, doing whatever they want, and then just flying away? Like, to me, it's like, they definitely need to go back to the drawing board on that. Like, whoever built that, but I figured it seemed cute at the time, like, and it probably wasn't well thought out, because they probably figured, well, we got all these toys, and it's like we want them to be robots. So it's like, well, just make the planes the bad guys because the bad guys are supposed to be stronger. The bad guys, supposed to be something that they're like David and Goliath kind of thing. It's like to me, it didn't come across like David and Goliath or like a hero's journey. To me, it came across like, okay, like the heroes are like working with like old ass technology, man.
I wonder what the kind of pressuring conversations they had about trying to sell toys was like. I don't care. Just get this stuff sold. They're gonna find the lead in this paint, and before that happens, we need to have all these things sold.
Yeah. Like, look, we got a whole warehouse of these dinosaurs, these Dinobots. Like, you better write them into the story. You better write them in hard.
I don't care. Figure a reason out why they're all painted gold. I don't know. That's the only color they had. And it's like, okay, well, let's figure it out. Cause I don't know. I don't know what that was about. I've heard about that. They've actually like altered like toys or like stories and cartoons just to fit the toys, because they were like, I don't know, it's the only one they had, so we had to figure out. We introduced his twin brother who's purple.
I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of that character design is just like whatever toy parts they had laying around. It's like, all right, He-Man, like, okay, we're gonna get this old doll head over here. Like, all right, just put it together. It's like, this is what he looks like. Like, I'll make the cartoon. That's how they got that.
That's how they got that. They were like, I got a muscle man, I got a little wizard thing, and I got a tiger. What you got? Okay, hear me out. He-Man, and this tiger is his friend. He's gonna ride on top of him.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you fucking kidding? Are you kidding me? He's gonna ride on top of him, and then the wizard guy, he's gonna be his friend, and it's like, okay. And then you watch He-Man, and you see that actually happened. That someone okayed that story I just gave you.
Like
it was like, all right, yeah.
The original draft probably had him like with riding a horse, but they're like, we got to get rid of all these cat toys. Like, we got to get all these like tiger toys. Like, we just switch them out and stuff. We got a whole warehouse of the cat toys.
Just cancel the horses. We already got the tigers. We got to figure it out. Yeah. And then I don't even want to know the story behind the guy, or you press the head and it spins around, like it changes different faces and stuff.
I remember that guy.
I was like, I don't. And I know you guys are doing this, but this isn't.
The one I remember that my cousins and I always had, or like I remember seeing a lot of versions of this character. It was the one called Moss Man. He was a He-Man character.
Oh yeah.
And he was like green, and he had like a fuzzy kind of like velvety kind of like skin to him.
Yeah. Come to think, like He-Man characters and stuff, they didn't look like they look like a motley crew. The entire freaking thing was just the motley crew of just different things. Like there was purple, like you said, yeah. You got the Moss Man. There was like a purple guy who was like an ape or something.
They bought all I was gonna say they bought all the parts from like a doll warehouse or something like that, like factory overrun,
like a fire sale or something. Yeah, it's like, look, I got all these things.
He's there. He's like, okay, like he's got a frog's head. Okay, what else? We got a sprinter's body over here. All right. Give him two robot arms. I don't know. Like, just put him on the cartoon.
Robot Frog Man. Everyone fears Robot Frog Man. It's like, oh, all right, yeah, we'll make him. He's pretty fearsome. Yeah, I mean, just look at everything else. Everything else about the show doesn't make any sense. Skeletor never really explained that whole thing.
Yeah, I could kind of understand, like, did you want to have like a menacing kind of looking villain, like kind of like Mumra also, but yeah, this whole thing didn't make sense because it's like, okay, well, He-Man is like a barbarian kind of guy, but like his enemies weren't all like, I don't know, it was just like weird because they weren't all like on theme like the way you would expect, like, and then
Yeah.
like it I don't even remember like, did he fight people? I don't even think he even really fought that many people. I think it was one of those shows that like taught a lot of like lessons, didn't it? Like a lot of like more morality kind of things.
I don't know.
I
Dude,
don't
there
even
was it
remember.
was yeah. You know, it's funny. You said something about He-Man. Like, I think it was on the other day. Like, I watched like half of an episode, and I don't remember a single like actual fight occurring.
Yeah,
Now that you're saying this.
I'm pretty sure like I'm pretty sure we were so goofy as little kids back then that there's probably like very little action, and there's probably just a lot of like selling of toys or like a lot of messaging and stuff. And we were just like sitting there, just like eating it up. I haven't
Um,
even gone back and watched. I haven't watched any of them, but I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch, like I tried watching. There's one cartoon I used to like enjoy back in the day, and I tried going back and watching it, and I was like, oh man, um, like I tried going back, and I think I tried watching like Inspector Gadget one time, and it was like, man, I remember I used to watch the
oh
heck out
yeah,
of this, man. And it's like,
yeah.
and like other cartoons too. It's like, man, either I really had fully embraced adulthood, and then just like, or like I must have been
No,
like a very short attention span little kid back then.
you know what though? I think we were really man, we were really patient because we had to wait through all those commercials
Yeah,
to watch like 10 minutes of television. Like all week long, we waited for a new episode of something to come out and stuff, and watch like I said, like 10-15 minutes of an episode is really what we got.
and you appreciate it a lot more when you can't like pause it at any time or anything like that. You know, live TV.
Yeah,
Like that's something that
yeah,
people nowadays probably, even I've lost sight of it because I don't really like. I mean, it's a good thing because TV's you're not on TV schedule anymore like the way people used to be back in the day. Like you wanted to watch cartoons as a little kid, you had to wake up early on Saturday, which it's kind of bad that the experience is gone now. Like because that was a cool experience, but as an adult, I'm like, I don't. I first of all, I'm pretty busy most of the time, but like I like the experience of like, okay, when I do finally settle down to like watch something that I can just like start a movie from the beginning, or that I can like binge watch shows because maybe like I don't get a chance to like catch them when they air or whatever. But then like when I finally get around to watching them, um, you know, you can kind of like, I know it sounds bad, but you can like so many shows that you kind of like you can almost get through them pretty quickly, you know, like, but you almost make it worse for yourself though because it's not the same thing. It's not like the same level of anticipation, and like you're not like you don't um appreciate it as much when you like binge watch stuff. You like go through it kind of quickly, and it's there's something to be
yeah,
said for like a show that forces you to have to wait another week for the next part of the story.
yeah. I think Apple TV and Amazon, like they still serialize their shows. Like you still have like when they release a show, you have to watch like you have to wait till like the next Friday or whatever
Yeah, I
to
think
see the new episode. And that's cool. I mean, that's cool only because I've been so um, spoiled by Netflix when like the new season of something comes out, like 18 new episodes, like sweet. I know
yeah.
what I'm doing this weekend.
Well, I like having them all on there, but I think there's something to be said for it's good that somebody like stops you from um like watching them like in a suboptimum kind of way, you know? Because I think sometimes when you rush through like a show like that, like yeah, it's like you can get through it quickly, but I'm sure it's like it's a different experience. I don't know. I know Netflix did it, and I think that there's something to be said for putting some sort of like limit on people so they can enjoy themselves, which is weird because
not too much flavor.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like exactly. It's like not too much flavor, and it's like
Because you don't want them to hurt themselves. I don't believe in that. I think people should be able give me all the episodes. If I'm I'm a big boy. I can.
I agree that they should give you all the episodes, but where I maybe would offer a different opinion than you though is that I think as a viewer, the optimal way is to not want not. I think there's a point where you start losing engagement and you're just burning through episodes kind of quickly. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Like when you binge watch something, like when I binge watch something, or the few times I do, like I'll go through and I'll like be attentive, but like somewhere between like the second, maybe third episode, I find like that I'm like looking at my phone or I'm like kind of like not as attentive. So I feel like it's best for me to like watch a little bit and stop, and then wait till I get wait till I get called to like watch another episode, and then like keep going back and watching them more, but I like make myself kind of crave them a little bit. Like I don't necessarily make myself wait a long time, but like I'll watch like one or two, and then like okay, I'm done, and I'll wait until like next weekend to watch a little bit more, just because I feel like if you've watched too many in a row, I feel like my engagement.
My wife makes me do this all the fucking time too.
What? Wait.
My wife. Yes, she always makes me fucking do this. We'll like start watching, and she's like, "Okay, that's enough. Let's save some for this weekend." I'm like, "What?"
Too much flavor.
I'm like, what the hell, dude? And you know what the worst is? She'll make me stop sometimes, and they'll be like the last like 5 episodes of a series, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, no, I don't want to watch it because then it'll be over. What do you think I've been waiting for? I've been waiting to see how this is.
Well, in that instance, sometimes I do believe in. I get what you're saying there because I kind of felt that, but I do believe in like closing out a series, because once you close it out, you find some. If you need something new to watch, you can find something new. You know, like because there's been shows where I've started watching and like I never finished them, and it's like, well, that was a waste because I don't want to finish them now because I don't remember the first part of the story, and like.
And you rewatch it? Do you rewatch shows?
To my eternal shame, you know what I did? Right before the last season of Game of Thrones came out, I went back and I rewatched seasons 1 through 7.
No.
Because I and I was like,
I hope before you got back to the last season, you realized, oh man, what was I doing?
Well, I look back
it gets bad. It gets bad like a couple of seasons in. Like as soon as they get off track, you're like, oh, okay, never mind. These guys.
It's almost like a watch that's like slightly off or like running a little bit slow. Like the first few seasons is not that noticeable. But then, like by the end, it's like way fucking off, and it's like, what in the hell? And the last one did like, I don't know. I was so angry. I'm still to this day. I'm not angry at anybody in particular because they don't owe me anything, but I'm angry at myself because I got invested into a story that like didn't have its resolution already. And I've made that to be like a freaking like not a standard, but like I like one of these things now that's like anything that's like half started, I won't get involved. I'm not gonna do it. If you haven't written the end of your story yet, like I don't want any part of it. Because it's like, why did they start doing that? The story wasn't even finished, and they started making the show. And it was still like an ongoing thing, and I was like, I never do that again because it's like then I think
it's become a common thing.
Well, that's probably why I don't watch that many shows nowadays. Because I'm like, the frustration to me of like, are you kidding me? Like I've invested this much time and like at the
Have you watched
end,
anything? Have you watched any new shows?
nah, not really. I can't think of anything. I haven't watched any TV in a long while. I was um no, I can't really. I mean, I Jersey Shore Family Vacation. I think is what I watched a little bit of, and I think
Seriously, that's
yeah, and
funny.
that's not even anything that I've like watched intently. This is like just kind of casually, and I've yeah, I can't really. Man, honestly, man, like I can't really think of anything I've been watching at all. Really, after the pandemic, it really broke a lot of like. I mean, I wasn't never really that big of a TV watcher, but uh, like the TV was terrible around that time, and then like it started coming back. It was like a lot of shows were like real overly woke, and it just like
Yeah.
I don't know. I never got back into it. So no, I haven't really been watching anything. And Game of Thrones is one of those shows that like goes back to what I was saying about just give people what they want. It's like they set the show up like to be like a really good story. All they had to do was finish it out. They could have thrown a little bit of a curve, but the thing is, when you're more concerned about like throwing curves and stuff, you throw off like the symmetry of like a story because a story is supposed to be like in the first few acts, the long story, anyways. The season one through season whatever. It's supposed to build up and it's supposed to, but like when you change everything at the end to throw people off the scent, it makes it to where like instead of going like this and like having the proper like symmetry, it like goes like this and then it like does something weird, like it goes straight. It's just like it's not that the ending was bad, it's just not symmetrical to like the way it was set up at the beginning. So it's like I'm going on a rant here, but it's getting late at night and I'm like I think my brain's losing oxygen, but that's why I don't get involved in anything that's like they haven't figured out in the beginning. And even then I get annoyed at some of these shows that I can kind of I get the sense some of these shows they don't actually have like their story plotted out. Like some of these shows, like I think some of these writers they get away with like seeming like they come up with all these like twists and turns, and people give them credit for being like really great like writers and stuff. But I suspect lots of times they're just like randomly doing stuff, and it seems interesting, but it's like they have trouble wrapping it up at the end because it wasn't planned the whole way. Like I've just seen a few shows. It's like those type of shows where like every week is like the story's going on all these crazy twists and turns, but it seems like really like impressive because it seems like the person's like writing a really creative story. But I think if they don't have it completely storyboarded out, it seems easy to like do have all these wild twists and turns along the way if you don't know where you're going. But the hard part is like tying it into like story symmetry, where it, like not just makes sense, but where it's like seems nice. It's like there's something about like the human brain that likes things being symmetrical and balanced. So like however you start the story at the beginning, like your end has to like match it. So I don't know, man. I shouldn't have even brought up a freaking show like that, but I think my brain's losing oxygen, man. I think we've been going at this for a while.
Oh
I
yeah, it's almost 3.
Yeah, I like think we should probably wrap it up just because
All right, man.
I think
Sounds good.
we pretty much hit all our major points. I don't even know if anybody will make it all the way through this thing. But yeah,
You
man,
did the brave.
I've got a video that I shot where I went out to the gardens, the botanical gardens, and same thing. It was freaking hot. It was hot. So I got to look into maybe getting like some sort of camera so this maybe like a little more durable. But if you get a chance, maybe we'll go back and we'll circle back around and we can either do a reaction or we can do another one of these calls and maybe we can get Dan next time. And I'm still trying to iron out some other stuff to get like I want to figure out how to do like a teleparty, but I just don't know how to way to do that over YouTube. So I'm still kind of working on that. But and otherwise, man, it's great talking to you, man. And we'll go ahead and wrap up this call. And I'm gonna end it now. And if anybody's made it this way through, man, we appreciate you guys. And hopefully you'll at least throw me a subscription. We can get Rudy to get on here a little more often if we see some comments or something. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now. And